Okay, so our first presentation will be from Emily Elliott, who's an MFA candidate in the Socially Engaged Studio Art graduate program and developed this interview project as part of the curatorial studio course in the fall of 2020. So Emily, you want to share your project?
Certainly. So since March, since the shutdown, we've all been dealing with the separation and the crises and how we're managing our lives as art students, artists, program directors. And since March, I've been trying to find ways that people can connect and that people are coping, and ways that folks are dealing with these crises and still trying to live their lives as people. So for the curatorial class that I take with Daniel Tucker, I made this interview format, and I decided on using Prezi because Prezi is a very interactive form for web-based things. And I wanted it to be interactive because when you're, one of the things that I've embraced, even though it's not my favorite thing, is that so many things that we're doing are virtual and there's not a whole lot we can do about it. If we're being responsible and if we're being careful, we need to be not meeting in person in large groups and not, being in intimate spaces with each other. So we had to come up with different ways to do that. And one of which is making things web-based. So that's been my exploration. So the Prezi just walks us through, this year has been insane: pandemic, lockdown, unemployment, the murder of Black folks by police, wildfires, hurricanes, and most contentious political atmosphere and ages. It's straight up apocalyptic. And, this talks about a little bit about how we are creating our lives. How are we fulfilling our needs? The process, I interviewed 3 folks from my Socially Engaged Studio Art MFA program, trying to suss out the commonalities. I spoke with the folks from my program. They were chosen because of our shared timeline. The first subject, AG, is a second-year MFA student, age 31, pronouns she, her, hers. The second subject, AS, is a second-year MFA student, age 56, pronouns she, her, hers. And the third person was DT, graduate program director, age 37, pronouns he, him, his. I wanted different perspectives. Each one of these individuals has different perspectives on, what roles they have in their own lives and how they experience life and things that they do to cope with it. And I wanted to have not a comprehensive overview, but just 3 different perspectives. So I went through the lockdown through March, when we locked down, the summer, the fall, and then different coping strategies. And I asked some questions to all these folks. How did you handle the shutdown in March? How did you cope with being in school and being a human during the end of last semester? How did you stay connected to friends and families? And did you make art? And each one of these individual people had different answers to these questions. And if you are interested in reading everywhere they have to say, you can go into each, when you click on the link, you'll be able to link to each person. And if I keep clicking through, it's going to show us, their answers. I did interviews, and then I transcribed the interviews using Otter AI, which is a really actually wonderful transcription program, and it's free. Um, um, we have some very long answers from some people, not naming names. And then into the summer, and was the summer different, and how was it different, and what kind of art were we making? Um, oh, there's a mistake I need to get out of there, huh? And again, the fall, because things shift. And as things shift, we have to shift, and we have to evolve and change and figure out um, different strategies, because the summer is a very different time for folks who are in school or part of schools, because you know reportedly we're not in school. um, and how we cope with it is very different. And then I asked about primary coping mechanisms, because I'm interested to know how different people do handle different things, and there are different coping strategies. And these are some of the using a planner. um, Netflix is a huge one, or watching TV. um, so friends is a big one, family is a big one. um, my favorites are people's junk TV show watching, um, and different, you know moving, getting out and moving your body. um, so it was very, the interest for me was really to find these connections and to share the way that we're dealing with things, because while yes, I know that Netflix exists, I didn't know that the autumn um, program existed, that Daniel talked about in his answers. And that's something that I can use. I am an avid listener to audio books, and I really like to be able to go out for a walk and listen to the things that I'm supposed to be reading, because it really helps me to absorb them. It's sort of meditative for me when I'm walking and listening to audio. And I mean, there are things, House Party is an app that one of my interviewees mentioned. I'd never heard of that. And these are just things that, you know, the more that we're able to share with one another, the more we're able to figure out um, our best coping mechanisms. And so this is just a place that we could share. And that was important to me. So,
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Emily. I really appreciate it. And for doing this work and engaging people in this, what is surely a really challenging time for everyone. But I think, that you're able to capture that it lands for people in different ways, and people have different approaches to engaging it. So, I feel like you were really able to capture that. Is there anything else you want to say about the project at this point?
nope.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so much for sharing.
Sure. Thanks, Daniel.